Okay, hello students and welcome to my presentation. Thank you very much for joining me in this presentation. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at what we call data backup and recovery. So this is the topic that we are going to cover for this week on information technology and system. Okay, now moving on. So this is the layout of my presentation. This is what you're going to cover in this presentation, basically. So students, upon completion of this unit, you should be able to define what is backup. You should be able to define what is backup. We are going to look at the purpose of backup. What do we backup? Why do we backup, by the way? Why do we backup data? Okay, and then the next thing that we'll be looking at is when should you make backups? So we're talking about backups. When should you do backups? Is it after a year? Is that when you should backup your data? Or is it after 2 hours? Or is it every day? Or is it after every week? So we're going to look at when should you make your backup, or when should you actually back your data. We're going to look at the ways of backing up your data. What do you use to back up data? What are the devices out there that you can use to back up data? Because we have got a number of them. And in this topic here, or in this point, we'll be looking at these different ways, types of media that you can use to back up your data. And then the fifth point here, we'll be looking at the 3-to-1 backup rule, right? So what is this 3-to-1 backup rule? What does it say? So we'll be looking at that. And then we have got different types of backups. We'll be looking at the different types of backup. There's so many of them out there. But in this presentation, we are going to look at 4 common types of backups, right? And then the last part, the last point that we'll be looking at, we're going to look at pros and cons of each of these types of backups, because all of them comes up with pros and cons. They have got they are good in one way, and they're also bad in one of the way. Okay, so we'll be looking at the different the advantages and disadvantages of using either one of these types of backups. Okay, and then after seeing or going through the advantages, you will be in a better position to decide which type of backup it's better to use, or which type of backup will you recommend your organization or your friend or you yourself to use. Okay, so that's only after looking at the pros and cons of each and every types of backup. Okay, let's move on. So looking at the first point, you need to define, or we need to look at what is backup. Data backup, we say it is the process of creating and storing copies of data. Okay, so you create and you store the copies of your data. You have got the original information or data. So what you do is just to create a copy of that and then you store it somewhere. Okay, just in case if the original data is lost, then you can have, or you can recover, you can retrieve, or you can get access. You can go to your copies that you have created, or that you have saved, or that you put aside. Okay, so you see it is the process of creating and storing copies Okay, so this is just copies. You are creating and storing copies of the data that can be used to protect organization against data loss. Okay, so we are saying it's a process of creating and storing copies of data, and these copies of data can be used to protect organization against data loss. Okay, in case if the organization or the data is lost in the organization, if you've created a copy, then it will be much easier for you to recover what has been lost because you have already created a copy. So you just go to your Medium or wherever you saved your copies or where you have backed up your data, and then you can retrieve the copy of this the data that was lost. Okay, so a proper backup copy is stored in a separate system or medium. So what you do here is you have got a copy of the original information or data, and then it's stored on a separate system, or you save it on a separate medium, okay? And you can keep this aside in case if the original data information of the organization was lost, okay? So this medium or this system can be a tape, it can be a form of a primary data to protect against the possibility of data loss due to primary hardware or software failures, okay? So I think this is a known fact that the hardwares can either fail or can malfunction. So this will lead us to our data loss. Now, for us to prevent the data loss of the organization, we have to back our data up, okay? Because the hardware, which is our laptops, which is our hard drives, which are memory sticks, this can malfunction or can even get lost. So we need to save our data, okay? Recovery from backup typically involves storing the data to the original location. Okay, so when data is it's lost and you have created as a copy of it, you can able to recover that by going to the where you have saved or where you've backed up your data, and then you can recover that. Okay, and you can restore your data, okay, to its original location. Backups. Backups ensures that your critical data will survive any of the likely hazards. Okay, so I think this is very clear, straightforward. It says that the backup, it ensures. So when you're backing up your data, you ensure that your critical data will survive. Okay, your critical data will survive in any of the likelihood hazards. Okay, so too many individuals in company have suffered from having their hardwares lost or stolen, destroyed by fire or natural disasters, infected with malware, or corrupted by targeted hacker attacks. Okay, so many organizations have suffered this. Even individual people have suffered this. They have either have lost their hardware where they have backed up where they have got their data, but this data is not backed up. So if you lose your memory stick or if your laptop is stolen, or if a hacker goes into your system and hack or make your data to be corrupted. So if you did not back up your data, there's no way you can find this information. So this information, it's totally lost, okay? Or even if the malwares or the viruses, okay, attacks your systems or attacks whatever medium you're using to store your information, your data. If these viruses attacks that, and then the data which was there was not backed up, okay, then there's no way to, you will suffer actually data loss, okay? So common sense dictates that all hard drives will eventually fail. The question is whether or not you are prepared for the worst case scenario. So we are using set different backup medium, and the hard drive being one of them, okay? But now imagine if your hard drive fails, or maybe it falls onto the ground, or it falls into water. So if the data which was there was not backed up, then it's very, very hard for you to recover the data which is on that damaged external hard drive. So it's very important, guys, we back up our data. So that's more on backup. Actually, we looked at the background of what is data backup is. Okay, now let's go to the second point that discusses the purpose of the backup. Why do we backup? Why do we back our data? As we have said, one of the purpose or the main purpose is hard drives do crash, okay? Because hard drive is one of the device, or let's say storage device, that you can use to save our files, our folders, and so forth and so on. But if it crashes and the data which was stored, the saved, it's not backed up, then there's no way we are going to recover or to retrieve our data in that hard drive. Okay, so we need to back it up. So in case of the hard drive crash, because we never know when is your hard drive going to crash, so you need to back your data up. Files can accidentally be deleted or become corrupt. Okay, so if you delete your files accidentally, or your file becomes corrupt in that hard drive, if it was not backed up, then the information of files which are there will be completely lost. So it's better you back your file apps and folders. And viruses can delete, can corrupt, or delete files. I think we have come across this in our daily lives, that sometimes you put your memory sticks in your laptop or your external hard drive, and you will come across a situation whereby all these files are just shortcuts, or they're not even open, or they're not even appearing there. So this is caused by viruses, okay? But if you have got a copy of what you have created with the files and folder, then you'll be in a good position to retrieve that, okay? You may upgrade to a new computer system, to a new computer, and need to move your files, okay? Let's say if you had got you bought a new computer, but now you want to move to the, to upgrade, right? So this whole process, this you can also, if your files are not backed up, you might lose this data because you did not save them anyway for you to migrate them to a new computer that you bought, okay? Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. So let's look at the critical question here that says, when should you make backups? When do we need to back up? When should we back our data up? Okay. If you wonder how often you should back up your data, just ask yourself this question. How many days work can I afford to lose? And this answers the question of when should you back your data? So how many days work can I afford to lose data? Afford to lose? Okay. So it means it's very, very important to back your data up, because imagine if it took you maybe two months to have, or to compile, or to have all your data, you have collected your data, right? And then suddenly something happened, your hard drive crashed, or maybe all this data have been corrupted by the virus, or somebody stole the device where you've stored this, okay? Now calculate those days that took you to create this data, okay? So it's very, very important that you back up your data consistently, okay? So whenever you make changes to a file or add new files, you need to back up your file again, right? So whatever you do, if you create a file, let's say for instance on Monday, and tomorrow morning you want to make some change, or you want to make some changes again to that file, or you decide to make some changes. So it's advisable that you do backups right after your changes that you made, okay? So this is what this point says here, it says when you make changes to a file or add new files, you need to back up your files again. Okay, so when you make any changes to a file, you need to back it up again. Okay, it is a good practice to back up your files on a daily basis, ladies and gentlemen. It's very important, and it's a good practice to back your files on a daily basis. Okay, so you back up your files on Monday, you back them on Tuesday, Wednesday up to Sunday. So the moment when you just make changes, or preferably or advisably, you have to do it on a daily basis because you never know what will happen. So it's better you back up your files or data daily. Okay, so when should you make backups? If you're working on a critical project, you may want to back it up even more often. Yes, it's very, very important. Let's say you have won a tender and you are designing a program, or you're configuring a network. Okay, so those files, the project that you're working on, let's say you're doing some configurations or you're coding. So if you don't back up these codes, and let's say if you wake up in the morning, your laptop is stolen, or maybe the viruses have attacked the whole laptop, or the laptop have crashed. So where are you going to get this code? So it means now you have to start from afresh, and you are only 2 months to get the project completed. So now you have to start from the beginning. Okay, so it's very, very important that you back up your data more often. Okay, let's move on. So now these are the ways to back up your data. What can you use? What are the different ways you can use to back up data? Right, you can use the memory stick, the USB stick. You can use the USB stick to back up your data. The external hard drive. You can use the external hard drive to back your data. And you can also use the time machine. So this is more applicable to more to Mac, those that are using Apple machines. Okay, it's like an option that allows you to save your data or to back up your data. Okay, and then you also have got the network attached to what the storage. Okay, so you just create a storage on a network where you can back your stuff or your data up there. Okay, on your network, right? And then you can also use the cloud storage, clouds. Okay, so you go to the cloud, you create an account, you pay a certain fee, but I think it's free, depending on which package you choose. They have got a free package there, and you also have got certain packages where you are required to pay a certain fee. So you create an account. It's like a server that stores, or where you can back your data. So you create an account with them, and then you have got, if you create an account, definitely you have your username and the password. So every time you want some files, you log in there, and you access the files that you want to use. Okay, or you can just put or drop your files there on the cloud. Okay, and then printing. So printing is one of the way you can also use to back up your data. So what do you mean by printing? It's so what you do is you just print out the most important documents that you want to maybe to back up, and then you can save. You can keep the printout in a safe place. Okay, so that's also one way of backing up. Okay, let's move on. Let's continue. So let's look at the 3-2-1 backup rule. So the 3-2-1 backup rule says, the first one says, keep at least 3 copies of your data. So what does that mean? It says having one backup is not enough. People having only one backup is not enough at all. So at least you need to have 3 copies of your data. So having one copy One backup is not enough, especially if it is stored in the same premises as the primary data and on the same type of media. Okay, what you're saying here is you need to have at least 3 separate copies of your data, and storing them in the same premises or in the same type of media, like you're having 3 memory sticks or 3 external hard drives, and at the same institution as well, the same premises. That is not enough. Okay, so at least you need to have 3 copies in a different backup media. Like maybe you can have on memory stick and on the external hard drive, and maybe you can also have got the printout. Okay, so that's what we say. Having one backup is not enough, especially if it is stored in the same premises as the primary data and on the same type of media. Okay, so please, you need to use different type of media, backup media. Okay, because if I had okay, let's move on to the next point that says, obviously, the more backup copies you have, the less chance you have to lose all of them at once. Okay. Okay, if you have got, it says the more, obviously, the more backup copies you have, the less chances you have to lose all of them at once. Okay, so if you've got 3 copies that you have saved, it's very less that the possibility of losing all 3 of them is very less. Okay, well, that's basically what this statement is saying, because you can only maybe lose one device or media that you have saved, and you can remain with 3. Okay, so thus the 3-2-1 backup rule states that you need at least 3 copies of your data, meaning the primary data and 2 backups of this data. Okay. Okay. So guys, you need to keep at least 3 copies of your data. Okay. So let's move on to the next one that says the 2 backup. Store 2 backup copies on different device or storage media. Meaning we must remember that any storage device will fail sooner or later. Whatever we are using, all these devices that you're using, the storage devices that you are using daily, they might fail. They fail anytime. It can be attacked by viruses, okay? So hard drives fails over time, whether because of defect or simply wearing out, okay? Maybe they've got some faults into it, so it might fail. So 2 devices of the same type have much greater risk of failing around the same time than 2 devices of different types of 2 different storage media. So what are we saying here is, if you have got 2 hard drives or 2 memory sticks, okay, and you're claiming this is where you have stored or where you have backed up your data, the chances are high that these 2 devices might fail at the same time because they are of the same type of storage media. Okay, so that's why we are saying store 2 backups copies on different device or storage media. So if you are having, let's say, external hard drive and memory stick, so these are 2 different types of backup media. If the way a memory stick fails is different from the external hard drive, so it's better to have a copy in the external hard drive and in the memory stick. So this is what basically this statement is saying: save the 2 copies on a different devices or storage. Okay, so please try to save them on different storage media, not the same like a hard drive, external hard drive, 2 external hard drive, or 2 memory sticks, and so forth and so on. So you need to mix this. You need to use 2 different type of media storage. Thus, the 3-2-1 backup rule says that if you keep your primary data on an internal hard drive, yes, store your backup copies different way. Okay, for example, using an external hard drive, optical disk, digital tape, or the cloud. Okay, so if you save your data on the external hard drive or the internal hard drive, then it's better you also have a copy maybe on the cloud. Okay, because these are different media storage. So that's what basically this rule says, on different devices. Okay. The last one, the last rule says keep at least one backup copy of site, as it is obvious that the local disaster can damage all copies of data stored in one place. The 3-to-1 rule says keep at least one copy of your data in a remote location, such as offsite storage or the cloud. So this one says it goes hand in hand with one of the proverbs that says, do not keep all your eggs in one basket. All right. So what we are saying here is keep one copy on the side and the other one off-site. Okay. Like you can have your data backed up or saved in the laptop, and then you can also have one off-site, maybe on the cloud, or maybe have saved, backed it up somewhere at another organization. Okay. If you want to protect the data from disaster, which might strike large areas, then what you do means the files. Okay. So storing one backup offsite strengthens your data security. It also, so when you're storing it in a remote or in a different areas, it strengthens your data security. Okay, because if let's say the building catches fire and everything happens to burn inside the building, and let's say if everything, the data was not saved offsite, like on a different storage media, maybe the cloud. So you'll be in a position of losing everything which was saved on those devices. So it's better to have one offsite storage or backup in case if something fails, or maybe, yeah. So moving on. So let's look at the different types of backups we have. So we've got a full backup, and we have got the incremental backup. We have got a differential backup, and the last one is the mirror backup. Okay, so now let's look at the full backup first. So what is full backup? Because now you have got your data on your laptop or wherever it is. Now you need to choose which type of backup should I use. Okay, so we need to know, you need to understand each of these types. Okay, and then you also look at the pros and cons. In case if you choose to use one over the others, for you to arrive at that decision, it's actually, you have to understand them like thoroughly. You have to look at their pros and cons, the benefits and the limitations of each of these types. Okay, so what is the full backup? Full backup, as the name implies, a full backup is when every single file and folder in the system is backupped. Okay, so the full backup, what it says, every single file and folder in the system. Like if you take an example of the files and folders on your desktop, okay, if you back them all, like all the files and folders on your desktop, that is a full backup. Okay, every single file, these are the every single file and folders in the system are backed up, so that's a full backup. Okay, you back like everything on the system or on the laptop. Okay, and the full backup takes longer and requires more spaces than other types of backup, but the process of restoring lost data from backup is much faster. Okay, so with the full backup, it requires more spaces compared to the other ones, to the other types of backups. Okay, in the restoring part, or the restoring process is much faster. Okay, because definitely everything will be kind of it will be restored actually. Okay, whatever it's lost, in case maybe you want to restore what you have lost. Okay, so with full backup, every single file and folders in the system are backed up. Okay, nothing is left behind, nothing is not backed up. So everything on the system, it's backed up. Okay, and then the next one is incremental backup. The incremental backup will only back up information that has changed since the last time you performed a backup of any kind. Okay, let's see, with the incremental backup, take an example of if you have created 5 files on Monday, right? And then you perform a full backup, okay, on that Monday. And then on Tuesday, you decide to change 2 files, to add or to make changes to 2 files, okay? So what the incremental backup does is it only changes, or it only saves, it only backs those files that the changes were made. Okay, so that's why we say it will only back up the information that has changed since the last time you performed a backup of any kind. Okay, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, you add something, you back some, you change, you make a changes to a file, and then it's backed up. Okay, and Wednesday, same applies up to Friday. So it keeps on doing that. So it's kind of incrementing. Okay, so it's just basing its backup based on what was done the previous day. So subsequent backups only stores changes that were made since the previous backup. Okay. The process of restoring the lost data from backup is longer, but the process is much quicker. Okay. So it's longer because for you to restore what was lost, you need to go back to the initial backup. Okay. So it needs to go back to the initial backup, but the process is much quicker. Okay. Differential backup, as you say, it's similar to what? To incremental. So both of these backup, it's full. Subsequent backups only storage changes to made to file since the last backup. Okay. So the differential backups copy over only the information that has changed since the last full backup. This type of backup requires more storage. It requires more storage than incremental backup does. However, it also allows for a faster restore time. Okay, so that is more on differential backup. And the last one is the mirror backup. The mirror backup is a straight copy of the selected folders and files at a given instant in time. So here we've got selected, we only back selected files and folders. Okay, so the mirrored backup is opposite to full backup. Okay, so it only focus on the selected files and folders. So it's fast. The mirror backup is the fastest backup method because it copies files and folders to the destination without any compression. Okay, so it doesn't compress any files. So it just copy the files and folders to the destination without compressing it. Okay. Now, looking at the pros and cons of each of these types of backup, let's start off with full backup. The full backup, the pros and cons. So what are the good things about full backup? So this backup provides the best protection for your data. No matter what happens to your hardware, you know you have a complete copy of all the company information you need. Okay, since that we said it's a full backup, right? So whatever it's lost, if it's backed up, then you definitely have access to full complete of the information of the organization. Okay, because you have backed up everything, so definitely you'll have access to all the copies of the company information that you need. Now, what are the limitations or the disadvantage with full backup? Because the backups replicate so much information, they require a lot of storage space. Okay, imagine backing up the whole organization data or information. So it requires what? It requires space. It requires time as well. Okay, because that's bunch of information that you are backing up. So it needs time. It might even take the whole day or the whole week. Okay. You also need, it also requires what? Financial investment, okay? Is that you need to buy these devices or storage devices that have got large storage space, and they cost you money. So financial, you need to invest in that as well. So you need more money to buy those equipment or those devices, okay? Then looking at the incremental backup, the pros is that this backup requires far less time and storage to create more compact copies of data. So it requires less time, as we said, because it increments. Incremental backup, it builds up from what was done yesterday. Okay, so it doesn't back up everything, it only back up the changes to the files that it backs up the files that have been made changes. Okay. Okay, now looking at the cons, it's the time you save in making the backup, it's added to the time necessary to restore the data. If you want to review the files that were backed up incrementally on Monday, you first need to restore the full backup from Friday and move on from there, okay? So basically, as we are saying, is that you need to restore the whole full backup, let's say as of Monday, okay? And then you add or you back up all the other days as well, okay? But you need the full backup, okay? Which was maybe done on Monday. So that is the limitation of incremental backup. And then moving on to mirror backup, we say what are the advantages of mirror backup is that of mirror backup, it's fast and recovery time and easy to access individual backup files, okay? So it's very fast and it's easy to access individual backed up file because it only selects certain files that are backed up, okay? So it's easy to locate the files that are being backed or that needs to be backed up, okay? Files and folders. And looking at the cons or the limitation or the disadvantage of this backup method is that the amount of storage space required. With that extra storage, organization should be wary of cost increases and maintenance needs, okay? Because you need extra storage spaces for this, so that actually increases the cost and the maintenance as well. Okay, right, so this is the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I will see you again next time. For now, bye-bye.